Good morning. So my name is Geert Desager. I'm CEO of Needle, a strategy company in Belgium. I think the reason I was invited here today is more of the group of companies I belong to. It's a group of companies in Belgium, about 350 startups, 5,000 people in general, 500 million in revenue. Alone this year, we hired 1,000 people and started 20 new companies. And I'd like to share with you how we have built that cluster of companies. But before we start, I'd like to show you a little movie. Some of you will probably have seen that already, but what we all see is a change with speed. In a way, it has nothing to do with technology, but all about people and the pace of speed of adoption that has gone much, much faster. There's a lot of new possibilities. There's a lot of things that we can do. But one thing that is really striking for us, so we do digital transformation projects and innovation management for companies, governments, organizations. And what we see is a lot of big predictions, a lot of gurus on stage, like here. And I'm just going to show you a few elements that we've heard. Because one of the things is we are very bad at predicting the future. This is in the beginning of the 1900s. Everybody was convinced that by now women would be more than 2.5 meters. I don't think we got there. In the 50s, we were all convinced that we will all have a mini helicopter in our garage. Might be helpful for countries like Malta and Belgium, and I can assure you traffic jams are as bad in Belgium as in Malta. We were convinced that by the 1980s that we would have something like the Hyperloop that Elon Musk only now is starting to build. And who does not remember the 2YK and the whole chaos that was predicted? Luckily for us, it didn't come true. But even the people who really know what they are talking about make a lot of mistakes. Martin Koop was actually the almost inventor of the mobile phone, but he said, like, okay, they will definitely not replace wire systems. One of the founders of what we could call today the internet was really sure that the internet was not going to live for long. Even the guy who invented or who started YouTube said, like, okay, this is not going to go very far, and this is just a little startup. Who is going to watch that many videos? So we're all very, very bad as humans to predict the future. And we can look at that even more in details. So what we hear a lot is disruption, and disruption is happening so fast you don't see it coming. And then, of course, you have the examples of Uber and Airbnb. But if you go and look into details in the history, you see some things that put it in a different perspective. If you look at Airbnb, I'm a big fan and I use it a lot, but they started in 2007 renting out one apartment. They ran out of money, so that in 2008 they had to sell Obama Cheerios. It's only in 2009 that they got some funding, and so you see where I'm going to. It took a lot of time, and you can be sure that people in the hotel industry or hospitality industry saw them coming way before everybody was talking about it. So sometimes it's not that fast that things are going. What we also say is, like, if you are thinking about innovation programs, you have to shoot very, very far. Aim for the moon, change the world, otherwise it's not going to help you. But typically in innovation management theory, what we see is that we divide it into 3 horizons. And today, everybody who's on stage is talking about how Uber, for instance, they saw the future of mobility the day they started their new business. So they really went from day one for market disruption. Again, if you look into the history of the company, they actually started out with a little problem because the founder, who is not the CEO anymore, he was in Paris at Le Web in 2008, and he couldn't find a taxi afterwards. So he said, there's an unused capacity of limo cars that we should do something about. So actually what he started with Uber was in the beginning just a slight adaptation, if you go back, a Horizon 1 process innovation, which in the end ended up really having an impact on a lot of industry. But the way they started out, and that was 2008, it's I think in 2010 that they really started to have traction. So it's really sometimes with small process innovations that you can get very, very far. Of course, everything starts with technology. Innovation is not possible without technology. If you look at, well, anytime you open your browser, you have all the ads of all technology companies that say innovation starts with using our tools. We're absolutely certain that it has everything to do with people and nothing to do with technology. Technology is going to help you, but innovation is really going to be about people. And you will see in the way we constructed our model that the core of that is real about that. Now, if you look at innovation programs, innovation management, a lot of people are also talking about business models and changing the business model. Once you find a new business model, then you're all set for life. Then again, we don't think that's true. Again, if you use the example of Netflix, first of all, they took a long time, and second, they had to change twice their complete business model before becoming really the successful company that we all love so much. A lot of companies start an innovation lab, and they think, well, now we have an innovation lab, there's going to be a lot of ideas, and our future is secure. Then again, if you look at the last couple of years, most companies who started an innovation lab are already closing them down because they don't see the results coming out of that. What we see a lot also is that we get called in for a company, for an organization, even governments, and they just want to have one big idea, and they are absolutely sure that with that big idea, they will be successful for the future. We all know that 90% of all startups are failing, yet if you talk about innovation in large companies, large organizations, they all want to focus on just 1 or 2 ideas. But that's never going to work. Again, history tells us that the real successful people had to try a lot of times. Before doing this presentation, I didn't know that Sylvester Stallone had to pitch his idea for the Rocky I movie 1,500 times. In the end, it was the start of his career. Mr. Dyson had more than 5,000 attempts before his real innovation with the vacuum cleaner came out. Edison had to try and make 10,000 prototypes before the first light bulb really worked. But then again, all companies are convinced if we do one innovation project, we'll be set for life. I said it, everybody thinks it's about the big bets, and I like this example. Everybody knows the company Pixar, but in a way, Pixar was bought by Steve Jobs when it was a hardware company. And what he did was, it was going okay, but there was one guy in his team, and he was testing stuff out with animation movies. He didn't give him a big budget. He didn't immediately see the big future ahead. He just gave him small installments to get him to try on. He gave him a lot of time, and in the end, that was the success of Pixar. So it's not always the big bets, but it's believing in people and giving them the freedom to do that. And those are a few of the, what we call the myths of innovations. And I think there are a few elements in our network that we use as well. First of all, we always look at a long-term perspective. The company started in 1991. One person, Chef de Witt, he started alone. In 1992, there were 2 people. In 1993, there were 4 people. Now we are 5 people, and for 2020, we will be 10,000 people. So that is the long-term vision that we have. Second of all, we start with specializing. So we don't try to do everything, but we try to specialize in every aspect. So actually, the Kronos Group in itself is today more than 350 companies, all with a specific expertise. Some of them even competitors to each other. So we have 3 companies who are only developing blockchain projects. We have 5 or 6 companies only doing AI. We have, I think, 7 companies specialized in AR and VR, and so on and so on. Just a few of the examples. Not only in the big partners, but also in the very small parts. There is a freedom to fail. So we invest in people, they get time to develop the company that they want, and it's no problem if they fail. If they fail, they are absorbed within the group to continue being part of our network. So in a way, it's about 4,000 entrepreneurs and 70 new startups. Failure is no issue. I already told that. Sorry about that. Scrap the red tape. So actually, within the whole Kronos Group, we don't have any middle management. It's all about developing, and we have shared services so that every entrepreneur can really focus on what he does best. And it's all the hard work of it. Let people build their own dream, so people are in charge of their own. So I just wanted to show something else. Oops, sorry. The last one is the cluster ecosystem. So what we try to do is put all the specialties in one cluster so that there is cross-collaboration between the different entities. So we have, for instance, a whole AI stack. We have a whole stack of companies that use Microsoft technology, and that is how we work together. In the middle, we have shared services like finance, HR, legal that helps us, and we have one business controller, no middle management, and that's how we run the network. Since we're expanding very, very heavily, we are looking at other countries for 2 things, to see if we can develop projects or find new projects. On the other hand side, we are looking for people because we cannot follow with all the projects that we need to develop. Thank you very much.